and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is June 15. June 15, everybody, 2023. Coming off of yesterday's Fed, whatever we want to call that, dog and pony show, whatever it was, where they couldn't figure out what they wanted to do, but ultimately came to the conclusion that you needed to buy NVIDIA and buy it heavily and buy it like there's no tomorrow at the end of the day yesterday. And it was bought and it was thumped to the upside. And we have what I'm going to call a obligatory gap down for now. It's obligatory. So we walk into the day knowing that we get witches tomorrow, knowing that the data released this morning was a mixed bag altogether. Not giving any type of real indication as far as, okay, so how would the Fed look at this? How are they looking at this? What does that lead towards? Look, it's like we continue to exist in a world and in a market to where, while there continue to be more questions than answers, if you're looking at the bounce coming in so far off of that 435 and a failure to put in any type of a lower low from yesterday, that, at least for the moment, we can look at it that they want to buy. VIX is completely flat. There's no fear, and the market is very complacent for a move higher. Flow continues to push in that direction. They came in at the end of the day absolutely hammering calls left, right, and sideways. But it was all very short dated. So then you combine that with today, that a lot of those calls that were bought at the end of the day yesterday are going to open up well underwater. Now, it doesn't take very long for NVIDIA to move 20 points. We've seen that. It doesn't take very long for Apple to go ahead and grab 50 billion in market share just because it feels like it. Doesn't take very long for it to do that. So here we are. I'm sure Bender's going to pull up some charts here in a few minutes and be like, well, this is where we are. This is the low from yesterday. We're kind of in between. We need this to do this and this to do that. So instead of just blathering on senselessly, if that's a word, Bender, what you got in them levels?
Well, you just gave it. Like, what do I need to do? Like, I'm sure this is what Bender's going to do. And I mean, you nailed it. So I think we're good here.
Cool. Sonny, what you got, bud?
I have nothing today, dude. I have nothing today. I have like one piece of news, and that's about it. It'll be quick today. Back to Bender.
Okay. Here's the chart. Let's start with, we're good on a 5 minute. I'll just zoom it in when we need to. That dotted line up there was that trend line, longer term trend line resistance that we talked about previously. I got some fibs on here from the low on the 8th to the high that we put in yesterday. If we're going to pull back, 43.73 would be the midpoint of that, with the 618 being 43.5725. So, if this is going to continue, this little pullback that we're going to say is obligatory, if this is going to continue, you do have yesterday's low down there, that news candle, but this wick down here from Tuesday, we have not taken that yet. That's 43.8175. Below that, you have the shaded box down here is a 15-minute fair value gap. And then that would put us, again, the midpoint of that up move coming inside of that 15-minute fair value gap. So, if we're gonna pull back a little bit further, if we find ourselves back under 4,400, I would watch this area right in here, 43.73. Again, that golden ratio being between 50%, 61.8%, 43.5725. So you got about 20 handles in there that would kind of be the buy zone if they're going to look to push this thing higher and this, this pullback would be short-lived. That would be the area. So regardless of what we do, if we're gonna bounce there or we're gonna keep going through it, I would watch this area. If you were short coming into it, you'd likely see a bounce in here, if nothing else. As far as, if this is all we get and they want to keep pushing it up, or reverse it here and just go ahead and keep, climbing, you've got the midpoint of this down move comes in 44.10 half. 618 is 44.14 half. That would be the area that they would look to, potentially reshort, right? That would be the entry for a continued push down. You can see here on the 5-minute that there are some fair value gaps here that got sort of back filled kind of to the midpoint and then continue down. This little move that we have coming in right now doesn't look a whole lot different than, something like this, where it made a move down and then, pushed slightly higher before continuing. We'll see what they do with this one, see if it's something similar here. I am leaning that we don't see the kind of strength today that we've had, and maybe things need to, cool off a little bit. We'll see. It seems like every time we've, at least recently, that it starts to look like, okay, maybe we're going to cool off a little bit, then, they just come in and buy it back with both hands. So, but, looking at an hourly, it kind of looks like maybe.
You're not going to say it, are you?
It's kind of shifted just a little bit here. Maybe it's kind of rolled over. I mean, that's kind of already happened. Yep. And maybe, just maybe. Look, all I want is just a little, just cool off a little bit. Let some things, let some things chill. I don't know that I'm not thinking that like, oh, this is it, we're done. But just in the near term, when you've got a lot of stocks that are up, look at freaking SoFi. Not that it should have ever been where it was, perhaps, but how many 20-30% up days can we do before it's like, okay, let's take a breather? There should be some profit taking that creates, somewhere along the, because things don't go straight up forever. At some point, you have to kind of pull back to some of these, whether it's to a fib or support level, whatever you want to use, and then reload and entice buyers to come back in. It's hard to time these things. Very difficult to get the timing just right. But, over the last few days, these were the areas, right? We talked about the 4420s. Like, these were the areas that we're looking at going, okay, it would make sense to me kind of pull back from these areas. The only thing that I'm kind of surprised on, and that has me a little bit like, is that we got as close as we did to this 44.55 half and we didn't take it. That surprises me a little bit. Like, normally I would look at this going, well, it's, at one point we were like 20 handles away from it. Right. So, maybe I'm not blind to the idea that that we don't actually get that cool off. I would have liked to see this get taken to have a little more confidence in the idea that we may need to come down and maybe we get a retest 4300 or something like that. But we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. I'm not by any means bearish, but in the short term, it would make sense to me that things cool off a little bit before continuing higher.
So let me ask you this. Have you thought that about previous levels that we've played with over the last month, that, hey, this is kind of thinking cool off in through here a little bit, and we didn't? Because the cool offs, if you look at the chart, the reason why I ask, it's like you get these knives down that are bought back faster than they went down.
Yeah, I mean, no, not really. Not really. I mean, this is on the way up. There was levels that we were calling out that we were looking at, like, oh, if it gets here, expect, that's kind of where I would look for some sellers to come in, but not really looking for that cool off, right? We've kind of talked through that time cycle on the daily that we were looking at, like, here's where we would expect strength to come back in, and here's kind of where we expect, that to subside. There certainly has been levels that I've been looking at going, okay, at least for the next hour, if we hit this level, we should see, and we get smaller pullbacks than what I was looking for, and then, turn around and blow right back through it. So, I for me personally, again, we can just blow right through this stuff and continue higher, but I can make sense that the data has come in, the information we were waiting on, or not waiting on, but that they were buying ahead of nonstop, has come in, and maybe we get to cool off a little bit, which we've talked about. The charts are not bearish, right? The charts are bullish, and when the charts are bullish, you want that cool off. You want it to chill out a little bit, build some structure, and I'm kind of asking for it because there's some stuff that I want to reload. Like, I was selling some of my in the money calls on SoFi yesterday. That I had, and looking for, a little bit of a pullback, cool off, so that I can reload. So that's it. I mean, it's not like I dumped all my positions or anything else, and no, it's just, I'd like the chance to. We were a little bit extended on some things, and again, it's very difficult to time this stuff. Calling tops and calling bottoms and things like that can be difficult, extremely difficult. But, when we're up there shaking around over 4,400 and how quickly we got there, I have to, the way that I manage my stuff is I kind of have to look at that and go, I'd be silly not to take some off the table here and have some bullets in the chamber ready to fire when the time is right, because I'll tell you, if you don't do those things, you don't do that, what ends up happening is you're sitting there going, well, we just keep going up. We just keep getting, we can just keep going. No, I'm just going to hold it. And then it starts to pull back a little bit like this. And you're like, well, they're just going to come back in and buy it. And they might, right? But if in a week, SoFi is back in the 8s and, we're back down at like 4,300. And you didn't take some off the table and you don't have that firepower, that dry powder ready to go, you go back and you look at the chart and you're like, oh man, it was so,
and then
it makes so much sense. And it was so apparent and I didn't do it. Right.
And now you're back in the 7s and looking at all the money that you didn't get.
Exactly. And I'd rather, if it goes higher, great, it goes higher. And I'll miss out on some of that profit because I took some off the table, but you can't think of it that way. It's like, you never get to know what's going to happen. You just kind of have to go, all right, I'm happy with some of these gains. I got to take some off, free up some cash and, be patient. And I might not get it today or tomorrow, or might not even get it next week, but I just have to be patient and wait for it and be ready to fire.
Yeah. Well, thank you for walking through all that. You got anything else?
Yep. Nope.
Oh, all right, Sonny, what you got, man?
Some interesting names that came in. GLW, so this has got an upgrade. I think this is the third upgrade it's received in the past 2 weeks. They're the big manufacturer for Apple. Other ones are KSS, DPZ. I think Mel had sent out something about the DPZ flow the other day. Lennar had a good year, so they also got an upgrade. And our standard upgrades are Tesla and Netflix and Google. On the downgrade side, SoFi by Oppenheimer. Cut it from outperform to perform. Zion, we did see some put flow come into this the other day. Nike and Coin got a point. Price target decreased on that. CCL has an investor meeting on June 27th. Those who play that, this could be interesting as to how they guide, especially during the reservations guidance. Uber will start selling advertising in their apps. So potential revenue could get some nice, depending on, if the Uber says they have more additional users, more drivers, services getting, that's definitely a positive catalyst for them there. So China, the People's Bank of China decided to cut rates the other day. I would definitely be watching Baba, JD, PDD, Baidu, Billy.
Yeah, those names have all gapped up.
Yeah. They're expecting it to have 5% economic growth this year. And that's the lower end of it. But yeah, and they kind of moved up a bunch yesterday. They gapped up. Interesting to see if they hold the gap. FDA, so mRNA, I was talking about this the other day, like starting to see some spec flow. So the catalyst for that is FDA is prepping for all COVID boosters. And that announcement could start coming out today, the next few days. So watch Pfizer, BNTX on that. And the strike at the port, the Los Angeles port, has ended. So watch for transportation names, especially the trucking companies. There has been a lot of flow into the rails the past couple of days. That's also interesting, but I would definitely watch some trucking companies on that. And that's all it is. Pretty light on the news today.
Very nice. Thanks, Sonny. Stonkington, paging Stonkington. Oh, Stonkington.
Hello. Yes.
I have a question, buddy.
Mm.
Why would you feel it necessary to lobby publicly to go play your music in the start? Why would you publicly lobby for that?
That was a request from Charlie himself.
Well, but then you did something else.
I had to call you out too, of course.
Didn't earlier in the week I specifically say I don't care what you do. Makes no difference to me. What you want to go. Didn't I say that earlier this week?
It sounded like it had some mysterious undertones behind it, though.
So you were overthinking my statement.
I don't think you had you threw out an open go do your thing, but maybe I was wrong.
He took it
Maybe.
as, when a woman says, okay. So that's what he
Maybe.
took it as.
I think you're overthinking it. It's like I think that everybody knows that I'm not a big fan of people that break out in song. However, everybody knows this that I do not like people breaking out in song. However, you have put together maybe 3 really solid renditions. Really solid, really
Only
epic.
3.
Yeah, I'd say 3. Really solid, really exceptional. Like exceptional. The rest is like kind of like whatever. But 3 amazing to where you're just like, you know what? That was very powerful. That was meaningful. There's something grand behind this. What a beautiful mind the Stonkington has. So be free, young man. Spread your wings and fly.
All right, everyone, mark this so that because the note was, man, I gotta hear that from Charlie. So I was like, well, if the floodgates are open,
Read between
I
the
opened them
lines,
earlier in the
Stonky.
week. You're the one looking over your shoulder, and I specifically said I wouldn't worry about me. I'd worry about the others because it's the others you should probably worry about. Me, none. No worries. Go
yeah.
fly.
All right. Well, no one's popping off in the chat here yet in anger, so we're good. All right, let's get some stuff going here. I'm gonna do a share. We got a smash burger potentially on the table here.
To the up or down?
To the down, only on Q. Are you guys seeing this yet?
No.
Oh, why don't I see it? Let's see. Interesting. Let's see. How about that?
No, we see
Nope,
some.
that's not it. Okay. How about that?
Hey,
there we
there
go.
we are. There's our smash burger. So the Q's closed above the prior day's high, so we'd be looking at yesterday's low as our short entry. It's got plenty of room to get there, but we will get an alert in the room. So that's, and then if we swap over to the SPY, it did not close above the prior day's high. So technically not a smash burger, but Q's we will get an alert. The other thing we've got going on here would be the big ER from Adobe, and we know what that means. Adobe Photoshop, whatever they're doing over there, means I think it's time for some prices right. We've got on the docket today this masterpiece of artwork. How do I move this thing around? Let's see. What the fuck that is, but there you go. Look at that beautiful photoshopped. I think there's arrows. Sooners in at $1.
Are those arrows or triangles? Oh, that's an arrow. Yeah. I guess.
We got,
why are they pointing? Are they pointing up and down or just down?
I'm not sure. I think mostly down. This is, I was wondering. I don't think this is NFT'd, but I will accept Ethereum offers as well. We got 650 grand.
Is this just a print or is this like an original? Give us some background.
Let's see. We've got the details here on this one. Let's jump over to that. This is a collateral damage, original spray paint mixed media painting by Risk Rock. I don't know if we've got any Risk Rock fans out there. Jen is in at 0.7. Sooners going for $1.
I'm
Dave,
going to go 28K.
28. Sunny's in at 980. Man. Whew. 12.5 grand. We got some other guesses rolling in here. Let's see. I wish I knew how much 0.01 Bitcoin was. Let's see. I think we're going to have to give this one to Sunny. 2,800.
I said
What?
2,800.
You did? All
No,
right.
I said 28,000. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. There's a bit of a difference.
Same difference when it comes to art. I would not pay $2,000 for that, but Sunny, you're welcome. There you go. All right, let's get into the charts. Wasn't on my list officially, but Baba, Sunny mentioned it. I was talking about this massive rising wedge, and it's broken, or falling wedge, I should say. It's broken. So if you're trading it, some lines to be aware of to the upside. Next, we've got to pop this 91.41 dark pool. Then I'll be looking to 94.80, and then clear skies. It's like once Baba gets going, it's like we're going up to this 100 level. So that's kind of what I've been looking for on Baba. Let's jump over to the NASDAQ. Let's see. All right. So an hourly really kind of caught my eye there with this potential flag building out. So this it's already working. It just popped a little 1 minute flag and it's grinding up. Upside target first one is going to be this 166. You can see on a 4 hour, that's the fair value gap with room up to that level. And then if we were to pop the flag and continue upside, we've got this daily gap above with room all the way up to 311.75. If we jump back over to the hourly, that's why I have this green line here. You can see multiple times where that 104.75, this green line here, came into play as an order block. You can see here, popped off that. Again, this candle, the bottom of it, popped off that, reacted here. So just want to see that continue to hold on pullbacks. If we were to continue to the downside, we've got this big open fair value gap here with room all the way down to 823.50. So that's kind of what we got going on the NASDAQ. But I mean, between the flow and the chart setup, I mean, that's looking like Spender was saying, it looks like it continues to look bullish. On the other hand, if we jump over to the Russell, looks like shit. Let's do our adjustment. On the daily, that's got potential if we broke below this area to be a big old double top. You can just kind of see it pretty clearly there. We're sitting on the pink line. I mentioned a few times that's going to be our new week opening gap. So we're sitting on that now. For upside targets, we've got room all the way up to 1914.80. Might have been on the September contract, but there was a pretty obvious fair volume gap, less obvious here, but in this area we might need to go up there and rebalance. Gold is the daily fair value gaps there on the Russell. So if we were to continue downside, this would be a first target, 1861.30, and then next I'd be looking for 1832 on the Russell. But yeah, that's it. Not looking so hot at the moment. If we jump over to some more individual tickers, kind of switching it up a little bit today based on the dark pools from last night. Going to keep an eye on Moderna because these dark pools are rare. And so the one from last night is kind of lining up. All right, you guys can't really see these. So it's kind of, there's a lot stacked up in here. But 125.71 was 18% average 30-day volume, which is really significant for Moderna because it just doesn't happen very often. So I've mentioned before, I don't really like to use the dark pools as the first trigger, at least when I'm making the list, just because I want to give a chance to bounce around a bit. So if it was going to go to the upside, I'll be watching this 129.05. You can see how many times we've reacted to that area. I'm going to rely on Sonny if he hears any news popping off on that one. Below, looking at 123. And these are very conservative. The outside trigger is mainly going to be focusing on that dark pool there. And then the other one was going to be AMD. Let's jump over to that. All right. So looks like we'll need a little bit of adjustment. I'd probably just pull this line down to this area where we're bouncing off of. Put a round number on it. 124.35 for a potential short. And then we'd just kind of get rid of this and then swap this one to a call trigger on AMD. So I'd be looking long above 127.25 and short if it was to break this 124.35. Can kind of see a janky head and shoulders here. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder potentially. And then it's kind of in this, it's been riding this trend line. So if we lost that, potentially be looking to take AMD short. And that is all I have for today.
All right, very good. So we can't forget that we have the Witches in Town tomorrow. Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's everything. It's very rare, though, that they allow like a direct momentum to carry all the way through when it comes to OPEX. So maybe this is the pullback, cool off on some of these options coming into expiration tomorrow. Maybe this is what it needs, a little gap down and deal with that. But at this point, it doesn't even, if we keep on grinding up, there will be no gap down. We're going to open flat, which, you know, it seems about right for the overall environment that we're in. Again, guys, when it comes to OPEX, anything can happen. You know, somebody was showing max pain for Friday. Yesterday, it looks pretty interesting. But yeah, let's see how we shake. We have Bullard today, this afternoon, and a Fed speaker tonight who's speaking in Europe this evening when the markets close. But that's all I got. You guys have anything else you want to offer?
I'm good.
No, I'm good.
All right, guys. We have 6 minutes until open. 6 minutes till open. Let's have a good day. See you soon. Thanks, fellas.
All right. See you soon.